Hello, everyone, and we have quite some stuff to talk about. So, the very first reveal at the Summer Game Fest was, in fact, Resident Evil Veronica, the remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica. So, Resident Evil Code Veronica was originally released for the Dreamcast in the year 2000. Then, Code Veronica X was released on the PlayStation 2, I believe, which is the way that I played it. For those of you that don't know, Code Veronica actually takes place 3 months after Resident Evil 2, following Claire's story finally going out to find her brother. It was her original motivation, but she never got to do it. I really wanted to take a good look at the teaser, as there's a lot of things that I feel like show that there's been some switching around. There's been some things changed already, just from the about 4 minute announcement trailer that we got at the Summer Games Fest. So this quality is terrible. Okay, so as we can see here, we are in France, and for those of you that don't know, Code Veronica originally in the opening scene takes place in France. There's a little monologue over some footage of basically showing Claire in a umbrella facility in Paris before she gets kidnapped. I think someone pointed out that this building here in the background, the like really tall building, I think someone zoomed in and could see that there's an umbrella logo. I'm looking at it now. I'm blind as fuck. I don't see anything. Maybe it is there. But I mean, it would make sense. It looks very ominous and imposing. So I could see that being um, that umbrella facility that Claire then goes into. This one's so good. And so yeah, so we have what seems to be whatever apartment that Chris has been staying at when he came here. For those of you that don't recall, in Resident Evil 2, this is also included in the remake, there is actually several letters left over from Chris in the police station that are addressed both to Jill and to Barry. I will get to them in a moment because there are some things I want to talk about after this trailer. But the letter to Jill basically states that, hey, if Claire asks you like where I am or like to come find me, just know that I'm okay. And then the Barry one is a lot more secretive because it's a coded message where Chris basically talks about all the hot babes that he's picking up in Europe and to not follow him. But it's written in a very uncharacteristically Chris way, letting us know that Chris is basically trying to say the opposite of what's in this letter, but he just can't outright say it. But all of this was not in the original for Code Veronica, this whole hotel area. Um, I think someone pointed out that the list of names there, that the one that would be Chris's, because the woman says like the man on the third floor, which would be the Brune, that's two spaces above where she has her finger right now. I think someone pointed out that's just like it's like the French word for brunette, which is Chris's hair color. So it might be some sort of code name that he was going by, perhaps.
Oui? Yes? So, you're the American who called earlier. The sister of the man on the third floor. Ah, welcome to Paris.
It
It's
does
so
make me
nice to meet
wonder
you.
how exactly Claire got this
Oh,
information and
it's
if that'll be
freezing.
explained.
Come in. Come in. We don't want you to catch a cold.
Because originally, it makes a lot of sense for Claire to go straight to an umbrella base somewhere in Europe. She got that message that was really off that said that Chris was in Europe. And so she basically be like, okay, he might have something to do with Umbrella, or Umbrella probably has something to do with this. I'm just going to go to an umbrella base somewhere in Europe. Which then she gets captured in and is sent to Rockford Island. But I wonder how she got this specific address.
Well, quite odd. In we go.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about this because it's very interesting. When we get to see the characters' rooms, I think we've gotten to see Leon in like a hotel in one of the CGI movies, and then we've gotten to see Jill's apartment in Resident Evil 3 Remake, and this seems to be Chris's version of that. Since this is the next time he appears after Resident Evil 1, just like Jill, we really get to see a bit into their mind just by the way that they like keep their space. And so obviously we have a bunch of cigarettes. For those of you who don't know, Chris has been smoking since Resident Evil 1, so that makes sense. But there also are a bunch of pills everywhere. There's obviously files everywhere. We do have a camera with some sort of photos. Maybe he's been tracking Umbrella. There's a lot of binders around, lots of information. He's clearly not using the actual bed, spending a lot of time out here since we have like the makeshift blanket situation. And we do have a green shirt draped over the back of the couch, which that alongside what the woman says really should have clued us in that this was going to be Chris here. We obviously have his weights, and we have just some clothes on the bottom.
Oh là
We have
là.
his boots down here, and what looks to be his wallet, perhaps, next to the camera. Which could make sense because if he is trying to be undercover, he might not have his ID on him, or just he might be keeping his identification in some way a secret by just not carrying it on his person.
Mais quelle pagaille! He's made such a mess again. Think, I just cleaned it up a week ago. It's like a boulder rolled through here.
A
Huh?
boulder. Mm-hmm.
Ah, the delightful biscuit. I'm sure he won't notice if we help ourselves.
I think it's very interesting as well that like this seems very like trailer bait ish, like in the sense that like in the way that it seems it's very intentional that like Claire obviously isn't talking and stuff because it's just like a reveal trailer, so we're like building up to eventually showing her face. So I wonder if this scene will play out very differently in the actual game, simply because obviously Claire will have dialogue, and because it's in first person, which obviously the older Resident Evil games were all in a fixed camera third person perspective. So it makes me curious to see if this is going to be some sort of toggled feature, like how it was in RE9, or if there's just going to be certain scenes where it flips back and forth. Like in this beginning section, in story segments, it might be more first person, but then once you obviously get to action, it'll be more in third person, like how it typically is.
I'm so sorry. It must be the maintenance man from this morning. Won't be long. I'll bring some nice coffee to go with the biscuit.
We got a little glimpse of her jacket there in the bottom. But yeah, a bunch of lighters, lots of cigarettes. This is another thing I'm very curious about because I wonder then if the mysterious man, I think it's Rodrigo, was then like waiting in the bedroom sort of area, or if possibly this whole thing was staged and she was essentially given wrong info so she'd be lured to this apartment. But it does look very Chris oriented, so unless it's someone who knew Chris, like that seems. But okay, so obviously Claire gets taken. We'll get to that once we get like the full reveal later in the trailer. But we have this first area. This presumably most of these scenes are of Rockford Island because it's the beginning of the game. You don't have to show too much. But this looks very much more woodsy than it did in Rockford Island. This here looks like a headstone of some sort, so it could be that grave center where she first comes out of in the original game. The grave area though looks a lot more expansive. The graves area was just sort of the prison. You walk up some stairs, it's the grave. There's no trees, there's no nothing, and then like as soon as you walk by it, you get to like the gates. Like you're in the prison. So I wonder if the grave area has been expanded to be a lot more because all she really does there is she just fights some zombies. Like they come out of the graves and it's like the first time, and you like watch them like pull themselves together, all that stuff. And you can like run back through there later on to go help Rodrigo, but it's not a very memorable area. So I wonder if they're trying to make it a much bigger thing here. Okay, and then in here, this is where I got a little confused because at first I was like, okay, this looks like RE Engine, but I'm not entirely sure what this is. I have seen people talk about, and I do agree with them. I think this might be the construction area that Claire goes into. Some people might remember she like walks through some boards and she trips and falls and father. Yeah. I think it might be that whole area. A lot of this, like I said, it does look new, like how the cemetery does. So I'm wondering if then some other areas got a bit of a facelift, which would include the construction area. Like here, this definitely looks like scaffolding, lots of beams. I'm not a construction person. I don't know. I don't know the proper terminology. But like this looks like very like a walkway, like a catwalk sort of thing that like she could fall through, or just like somewhere in this area sort of thing, even if it's not that specifically. So we have this little thing here that has the umbrella logo on it. Please insert your card. Um, I'm wondering if this is. I'm trying to think. This could be the box. No. I don't know. There's a lot of little machinery that they use, so this could be a lot of things, to be honest, or it could just be something completely unrelated. We have the dragonfly and the ants. For those of you that don't know, the main villains of this game, Alexia and Alfred, they have a fascination with bugs, and specifically the T. Veronica virus, that is the main virus in this game, was actually created using queen ant DNA. And the dragonflies are significant because they have keys that are tied to their sort of design, and also the first video you find of the twins picking off the wings of the dragonfly. This could just be obviously just random, man. I did see someone mention though that the uniform looks very similar to the um, the Nazi uniform, which apparently it was an original idea to have the Ashfords be much more closely tied to the Nazi Party and have that be sort of like their historical significance. So I wonder if we might be getting some of that inspiration drawn into these characters. But this man could just be anyone. I don't think it really matters. All right, and here is where I believe we will meet Steve. Um, this looks to be the part of the prison where the big gate is, where Steve fires at you and Claire is hiding before he eventually waves up his arm and he's like, "Wait, don't shoot!" in his little Canadian accent. Um, but it looks really good. Like I really the Rockford Island. I feel like it wasn't too. Code Veronica doesn't have a lot of super memorable locations. I feel like Resident Evil likes to do a lot of the first area is really good, like the police department, the main mansion, the Baker House, the Rosewood Care Center. Like all those are like super look super good, and then like the rest of the area is sort of like it's like it can be all right or just not very good, like sewers. um, but the Rockford Island, I never really think of it too much. I think it's a nice location, but it's never been too stand out in comparison to some of the other locations. But it looks really nice here, um, which makes sense. It's been almost 30 years since this game came out. Okay, so we have this scene, which looks to be the Rockford Island, obviously from afar. It looks to be on the right side. The like pointed areas and like the tallest point on the right side. That to me seems like it's definitely the Ashford Mansion that's in the back. Since there's a beautiful shot, I'm pretty sure of it like in the distance in the original game. So I wonder if they'll redo that shot. But it definitely looks like it could be on the highest point. That definitely seems like to fit the Ashford MO. And then on the left side there would be obviously more of the actual prison area and the more like industrial sort of vibe. But this scene specifically of these helicopters coming here, I wonder if this is Claire being transferred. Like this is a scene that we'll see right after she gets kidnapped. Like it's them flying to the island and her getting all that stuff. Or yeah, because I don't think it would be Chris. Chris like we see Chris climbing the side of the mountain, but he wasn't like with anybody. So I don't think it would be two helicopters for Chris. I think it seems much more likely that this is actually Claire just being transported to the island. And then we have the Lugers. For those of you who don't know, for a certain puzzle, you need to have these dual golden Lugers. They don't actually fire anything, but you have to get them from Steve, who actually does use them. Like they do. Whenever Steve has them, they have bullets, but Claire, Claire can't use them like that. Okay, and then we have right here. I can't get it. Hold on. Yep, this is definitely Steve. This like reddish brown hair that Steve has, I think it's for sure Steve. And this looks like the prison Tiberium. But Steve, I'm very curious what they're going to do with his personality. He's kind of whiny in the original, and there's also some very questionable scenes, like him trying to kiss Claire. Um, they try to like build up a romance in the original. I don't think it worked very well because of how immature Steve sort of presented as. He's 17, she's 19 in the original. So I wonder if they'll also change their ages if they do try to incorporate this like romance angle as well. But yeah, I'm mostly curious for his personality because even in Dark Side Chronicles where they like retell Code Veronica, he's still like he's very much into Claire still. But it's not as like childish. He has a fully different voice and everything that sounds more like tough, I guess. I don't know. It's just not his like whiny baby voice with his like horrible Canadian accent in the original. Yeah, so I think this is probably the first part of the Ashford mansion, not the back mansion. It looks it has a very different vibe to it. I think it's definitely the chandeliers. In the original, it's very dark, but it's very like candlelight. So it has a very warm feeling to it. These like bright yellow lights, it makes everything feel very like drained. Sort of like the life is like sucked out of it. I'm pretty sure um the estate is also it's a little more red originally. So that plus candlelight plus like all the like also like the weird like doll fixtures, like the hanging mannequin or whatever that's in like the at the top. It's a very creepy vibe that I wonder if they're going to change that to give it a more proper, a more put together and like sterile sort of like vibe to it. But it does look very nice still. Like we do see some of the red carpets. We have this red diamond pattern on the doors. These like ornate hearts that are sort of like etched into the walls themselves. And here we have a like a third view of Alfred Ashford. They changed his pants to white and they gave him some gloves. He looks very nice, like from what we can see, like clothing wise. It is very similar to his original outfit, which is very much like suit. His original outfit is very much it's giving like it's a little militaristic. So I wonder if he does have like the shoulder pads and such. But yeah, the like red, white, and gold. Well, yeah, red, white, black, and gold is like the big thing. So we're very much keeping to that still. But yeah, okay, yeah. Here we have a better look at the island. So like I was saying, this part on the right side with the points, obviously, that is the Ashford mansion. And then if they do incorporate it, perhaps this like tallest point is that like back mansion that you get to explore later on. And then on the left side here seems to be the actual prison part of the island. But notably, as they have been showing, there's a lot of woods around here. A lot of the traversing on Rockford Island in the original is it's just blank like flat dirt. Like there's no grass or anything. It's just straight up dirt and like a few staircases. So yeah, I wonder if they're going to incorporate a lot more flora.
Don't move. Claire Redfield.
And of course, we have our look at Claire. When I first saw this, I thought they changed her model. I think they have tweaked it, obviously a little bit. It's been quite a bit since Resident Evil 2 remake came out. She looks very similar to her remake 2 self in a scene that happens a little bit later on. But so we have this scene that presumably takes place directly in that hotel where we have Claire looking great as ever, and we have this mysterious man behind her. So obviously, because of the red lenses and like the gas mask and stuff, a lot of people think this is HUNK. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's still Rodrigo who's going to kidnap her. That "don't move" was his line in the original, and also like the red mask thing. It's not only hunks. We see a lot of other members of the like of that like umbrella like military like a sort of thing wear a similar gas mask, and specifically 3A7 from Umbrella Corps. I don't know if Umbrella Corps is canon. I don't know if anybody even remembers Umbrella Corps, but Umbrella Corps had 3A7 who looks very similar to Hunk in the fact that he has the red mask, very similar build and such, but he was voiced by CD Douglas instead of Keith Silverstein, who has voiced Hunk since forever. And I don't know, to me personally, this voice just doesn't seem like.
Don't move. Claire Redfield.
Yeah, I feel like Keith Silverstein has a very particular voice, a very unique tone, like in his work as like Zhongli from Genshin, or like if you know him from like Hawk Moth from Miraculous Ladybug. I don't know, I feel like he has a very specific tone. It could be because he's speaking so like and it's such a low tone that like it might be a little bit harder to make it out if it is him. But the voice just doesn't really sound like him. It might just I think personally that it's just whoever Rodrigo's voice actor is, and that this is probably just Rodrigo in uniform. And also, Hunk doesn't really do much. He is there. There is a file you can find from Code Veronica that it basically just talks about how Hunk and his crew transported Alexia's frozen body, and he's just like talking about like, oh, like it's weird that like that they have my team doing this, but like that's kind of it. I'm pretty sure it's just a message to Alexander, one of the her dad, that one of the Ashfords, And so he's on the island at one point, or presumably near it, or doing something. He's related to the game, but he's not actually a big player. So I'd be surprised if they include him in capturing Claire for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, especially since Keith just voiced him in Resident Evil 9, I don't think they change out his voice actor. But yeah, I'm personally not convinced that this is Hunk. If it is, that's fine. Like I'm not opposed to it being Hunk. I just personally don't think that it is. I think it's Rodrigo. Veronica. Oh yeah, we get a little bit of a better look at the back of her jacket. I am a little saddened because her first design for Good Veronica, the like boot cut blue jeans and her like it was like a red it's like a red jacket. It's not even, yeah, it's kind of like it's a sleeveless red jacket, but it's like cropped and stuff. And she has like the black underneath. I don't know. It just looks so good. But she also has this the Made in Heaven, since her and Chris are such like big Queens fans, on the back of her jacket. And I like that they at least gave it some texture. I'm pretty sure in the original Resident Evil 2 in Resident Evil 2 remake, they made it just sort of like an engraving. Like it's just sort of like drawn on essentially. I like that it has a little bit of more texture and also just some color with this like gold or like cream looking thing of the like angel on the back of the jacket. I do like the more colorful version from the originals, but I'm not mad at this. I think it's a step up from Resident Evil 2 remake. Same with her design, just as a whole. Like I don't dislike her outfit, but I do think that her other like the original outfits, they're less realistic, of course, but I feel like there's a certain like timelessness to them. A familiar like when I first saw this, it's very familiar to that one scene in remake. I think it's when she's getting off the phone with Irons, but it looks very similar to this. I'm pretty sure it's like same like a very similar angle, and this looks very much like they just tweaked the Resident Evil 2 remake model, which is it's a good model. But the original time I saw Claire, I was like, oh, did they give her a new face model? Did they do something like I don't know? It just didn't look the same. Maybe it was the lighting. We just have more detail on her, but yeah, she looks great. Oh yeah, people have pointed out this collar that she has on her. It doesn't look like her regular collar. I think she was like a thick gray collar or like silver collar in the original, but this it looks a lot more mechanical. It's like a bright red line, which a lot of people pointed out that Steve wears a prisoner's collar in the original, and so I wonder then, is Claire going to have some sort of tracking device or just some sort of like exploding color. Claire cannot catch a break. Everyone else is like, I'm gonna go fight these terrorists. And Claire, it's like, I just wanna find my brother. I just wanna like help people. And she keeps getting kidnapped. Like Revelations 2, she's gonna get that bracelet on her, the fear bracelet from Alex, and in here the Ashford's giving her this collar on her. But so I wonder if that's going to play some sort of significant role of just like trying to get it off, or just like the Ashfords are after her and like she needs to get it off so they can't like track her sort of thing. But she looks really good. Like this model is it's amazing. And we can see she does have her boots still, but they are black jeans this time instead of the like more boot cut blue jeans. Okay, yes, yeah, yes. Because as you can see, okay, well, you cannot see because this is blurry as all hell. It's like kind of hard to make out, but this trailing light, these trailing red lights, these are colors of what look like prisoners. They're wearing some sort of prisoner's uniform, while the police officer does not have that red glow around him. Or I don't know if it's a police officer, but this officer of some kind. I'm pretty sure that they gave Claire some sort of device on her neck, like they did for Steve in the original. In the original, it's not ever brought up. I'm pretty sure Steve keeps it on throughout the whole game, unless I'm mistaken. So I wonder if it's going to play some sort of bigger role of getting it off, because I feel like the colors obviously have to mean something, would be something more than just you're a prisoner. 2027. I'm so excited. The Xbox game between the Xbox Game Showcase with Persona 4 Revival and the teaser for Persona 6, this game coming out in 2027, Final Fantasy 7 Revelation coming out, like my wallet is screaming, y'all. But anyway, one last thing I want to really touch on is people talking about Leon. So I want to. I do not dislike Leon. I like Leon. I think he's funny. I think he's fine. But I need people. I think we need to pull back a little bit when discussing Leon because he's not in this game. This isn't a Leon game. This is a Claire first, Chris second, Redfield. This is a Redfield game, but specific like Claire then Chris. Um, and so I feel like they need to have their spotlight. Leon, it's been the year of Leon for forever. Just let him take the back seat for just a second, because Claire, they've been playing in my girl's face for so long, and it's just so good to get this. People have been mentioning Leon because they've been mentioning how they think they're going to rework the story. Because if we go to the website, this new title preserves the essence of the original game while introducing modernized gameplay, a reimagined story, and vividly detailed graphics. In 2027, Madison intrigue, love and hate all combine to create a chilling new entry in survival horror. So a reimagined storyline. A lot of people have been talking about this because the story in Code Veronica, it's very campy. It's not grounded in the way that a lot of the remakes have sort of pulled back the into realism in comparison to their original counterparts. And so a lot of people have been talking about what is going to be reimagined, what is really going to be changed. And obviously we've seen just from this teaser her going to look for her brother in just the cities of like the city of Paris obviously is a big change in comparison to the start of the original. Um I do think that a lot of people talk about Leon. I've been talking about Leon specifically because he has one line. It's not even him talking. It's one line about him, where Claire and Steve they find a computer and Claire uses it to email Leon. But the story doesn't really make a lot of sense here. Claire leaves to Europe because she cannot get a hold of Chris, and Chris left a note for Barry saying that he's in Europe. Claire then gets captured and is shipped to somewhere near the Arctic. She then finds a computer and emails Leon, who then is able to very easily, mind you, get a hold of Chris, who then shows up at the island like that. Now, I don't understand why Claire couldn't have just found Chris, because it doesn't. If he was able to be found very easily by Leon, it just doesn't. It just seemed. It's just such an odd story beat, you know. So a lot of people have been talking about like, oh, is Leon gonna have a cameo for that one scene? I think if they do that scene, it's not gonna be anything big. I think it'll be like maybe a voice, if that. I doubt we'll get to watch Leon emailing Chris or calling Chris. Um, but I personally think that maybe it shouldn't be Leon. Chris sends a letter to Jill that Claire then finds in the remake that says, if Claire is worried about me, tell her I'm fine. So he knows that Claire would go to Jill. I'm pretty sure she goes to Leon because like Resident Evil 2 just happened. Obviously, it's like the last person she talked to before she left for Europe. But I think it would make more sense if it was Jill or if it was Barry. Barry, we find out in Revelations 2, they have a very close relationship. And I'm pretty sure that it states that Claire even somewhat views Barry as like another father figure. Obviously, Chris is like older brother and like raised her. But like Barry was sort of the mentor to Chris. And so I'm likely by extension also to Claire. And which is why Claire is so close to Moira in Revelations 2. And so with Chris sending notes specifically to Jill and Barry, and with the original Resident Evil 3 ending with Jill supposedly going to find Chris, and the remake even ending with a mysterious person in a green shirt, which some people thought was Rebecca, some people thought it's probably just Jill, she just isn't wearing blue, but maybe it's Chris. And because they have such a much closer connection, being in stars and just obviously being friends, I think it would make more sense if Claire were to be contacting one of them, even if they're not very helpful. They're just much more closely. It just make more sense. I feel like story wise. Jill's known Chris for a while, and obviously they all three of them plus Rebecca went through the mansion incident, and I think Claire is just closer with them in general. She met Leon, but now in the remake they met like twice before she left for Europe. So I'm pretty sure in Darkside Chronicles or Umbrella Chronicles, one of the two, they tried to say that they tried to explain this story beat by saying that Leon was using his connections from now being a government sanctioned like operative, basically able to use those resources to then find Chris. I think that would be fine if this game didn't take place so quickly after Resident Evil 2, because it's like Resident Evil 2, we have our three survivors, Leon, Sherry, Claire. They walk off into the sunset before Claire's like, I gotta go find my brother, y'all. I'll be back, promise. And then she leaves, and then some within a very short amount of time, Sherry and Leon get abducted. Leon joins the government so that Sherry will be safe, essentially. But it's only been 3 months. So even if that exact day that they're walking off and that truck flips them off, if that exact day they get captured by the military, there's only 3 months for Leon to somehow convince them that he should use their resources to find Chris Redfield, and then is somehow able to contact Claire when he should be doing like training. But not only receive the message from Claire, but then also contact Chris. Like it just seems so clunky if it's to be Leon. But like Jill and Barry are free. I just think it makes more sense for it to be one of them. And I also feel like Chris himself would be more receptive because obviously like Jill in Resident Evil 3, he's a lot more on edge. Likely in this game, we see from his apartment he's not really taking care of himself as much as he should be. And so I think it would make more sense if one of his close friends came to him and was like, "Hey, your sister's looking for you, and in looking for you, she's now captured. You need to go find her or like give her a location, something." Which is then how she either gets there or Chris gets to her. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it'd be cool if it was one of those two, especially because like Barry doesn't show up that often. He's in one, and then he's in Revelations 2, which takes place like it's like almost 20 years between the two. And like I think Barry's really cool, and I'd like to get like a little bit more about him, or just bring back Jill. Jill's been missing. Oh, Jill's been missing. But yeah, I just think with a reimagined storyline, we have a lot of options as far as rectifying some of these story problems. Resident Evil is no stranger to having a few like creases in the overall narrative, but I think Code Veronica specifically, it's a lot more over the top. And so if we are to bring it back to the ground, we are going to need to make some changes, obviously. And I think that that is like one of them that I think would just be nice to see. Overall, super excited for Resident Evil Code Veronica. Let me know what you guys think. I'm just very excited. It's like probably like one of my like it definitely makes my top five for like Resident Evil games. I don't know, like the vibe of it. Also, just like a lot of people complain about the gameplay. I know I don't know who designed these bosses. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's just so fun. Like the like running from Steve, the ship fight, Alexia. It's just so good. Like I don't know. I hope they keep a lot of things, but I also do hope that there are some nice changes, not only to fix some of the gameplay problems and to make things just look super high quality and realistic, but also just to have the story be nice. Because if we are going to remove, because I'm a lot more forgiving if it's like we're so far out of realism, but it's like, oh, it's funny. Then I'm like, okay, like watching like Alfred, you cry like if we're super funny, I feel like it makes up for it. I'm like, okay, we're trying to like the story doesn't have to make too much sense, but if we are trying to make it more realism, it's like, okay, let's try and make this story as cohesive as we possibly can, while also making it like fun. Um, but yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.